Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. We're gonna do something a little bit different. Like, I've made a few commentary style videos in the past, but this is a little different because I actually scripted it out. I don't even know if I'm gonna like this, but today I want to talk about why we get so attached to fictional characters. Like, why as society are we so emotionally invested in characters, fictional characters that don't actually exist? Why? So I'll give you guys a little backstory on why I thought that this would be actually a good idea. It might not be. We'll see how this goes. Do you like my nails? They're green. So, a few nights ago, I was laying in bed at 2 a.m. and I was thinking about Hope Michelson, and I just started crying. And I was starting to think about everything that has happened to her, and it hurt my soul. And I was like, why am I so upset about a fictional character? Obviously, it hurts when they die and shit like that, but like, I was just kind of contemplating why I feel so attached to someone who's not even real. I actually made a fucking poll on my community tab. Out of 30 people, which is a lot, I know, 83% said yes, very much so, I am attached to fictional characters, while 17 said no. Now, if you do the math, 30 times 0.83 is 24.5 people. 25 people basically said that they are attached to fictional characters out of 30. That's a lot. I just feel like this has increased so much recently. Fandoms, Instagram, Twitter, Stan Twitter, Harry Potter, Marvel, Star Wars, and TV shows like Grey's Anatomy, Vampire Diaries, Universal, Obvi, Stranger Things, Supernatural, The Office, all that shit. But like, why? Why? Increased anxiety, increased depression just because there's more TV shows? Like, I got to researching to find the answer. And there are many different theories. Some of them are my own. Some of them are real people's theories that matter, but I think mine are good too. I just realized I have to cite my sources for this. I was like, hey, it's not a school project, I don't have to cite my sources. And I was like, wait, can I get sued if I don't cite them? Teenagers, what the fuck? On to plane. Good for you, boo. Apparently teenagers spend, get this, 20% of their time that they are awake watching TV. That's like 20 hours per week. A season of a show per week. Okay, so now we're gonna get into kind of why. My first question is it because we relate to these characters? I feel like a lot of times you can find characters that you like, and then you find pieces of yourself in them, so you kind of like relate to them. For example, if you have like a dramatic show about like a high schooler, what the fuck, who's texting me? Say you have Rue from Euphoria, like she's depressed and she suffers with mental illness, you're gonna find way more in common with her than you will Klaus Michelson, a 1,000-year-old vampire, right? But then why do we get attached to both if we can't really relate to Klaus? So I'm thinking maybe even if you don't have like directly something in common, there are still traits, ideas, and fears behind that character that you resonate with. So maybe deep down you have a fear of losing people you love, or trust issues. You're afraid of being alone. Whenever you put it onto like a 1,000-year-old vampire, those traits are magnified. Or maybe that's why you relate to the character more, even though there's still something that you don't relate to at all. People also generally get attached to things that they look up to. So for example, some character from Supernatural, I don't fucking watch Supernatural, Dean, if you admire traits about them like their bravery, their courage, or their loyalty, that'll get you more attached to them because that is such an innate human emotion, is like admiration. And so like this type of thinking, idolization, kind of makes them more real because it's a very human emotion. And I feel like these characters are made more real through fandoms and stuff. You find people who resonate with you. If you're on Instagram or something and someone's like, oh, Ginny Weasley's actually such a fucking asshole, I don't like her, and you're like, whoa, 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 you did not. Defending them as if they're real just again emphasizes how important they feel to you. So when you start to defend things, it just like also emphasizes the idea that they're real, which makes you feel even more connected to them. The more you humanize something, the more real it feels, and you don't really defend things that are like, ah, this cup. We also consume this media on a daily basis on Instagram and stuff, but when you're actually watching the show, you consume it on a daily basis. So the more you see this, the more you get attached to this. And people tend to watch these shows every single day, or they rewatch them. It makes you feel like they're your friend, because after a long fucking day, you have your motherfucker. You have your friend, even if you don't actually have to go see people. You can watch the TV and relax with your friend. It makes people feel like they have friends. It makes you feel like you know them, because they're always there for you. It relieves them from the stress of the world. It distracts you from real life. Just like you do when you hang hanging out with your friends, which humanizes them. People who are depressed, anxious, and suffer with any type of mental illness, this is definitely, I'm just assuming this is true, because I feel like if you're depressed or you have issues, like mental health issues, you definitely get more attached to fictional characters because you want to live vicariously through them, and they're doing all the shit you don't have the energy to do. Or you can't do because you're too afraid. A really big part of this is empathy that I've found through research, so it basically, all of it comes down to empathy. We engage with media in such a human way that makes us feel empathy towards the subjects and the characters. We generally follow these characters for a very long time, and we see them in different phases of their lives, like we would a real person, which is so human, and seeing people grow up and go through life and develop as people, very human. It makes you feel like you've been with them for a while and you know them like a friend, you know? Increases the human emotion that comes with watching a TV show. Think about it. These characters are the most loyal friend you could have because they'll never be mean to you. You can always just turn on the TV and watch them. And I know it sounds silly, but like 83% of you are attached to fictional characters, so don't fucking laugh at me in the comments. And this is actually called a parasonic relationship. It's a one-sided relationship. It's the relationship that you have with someone through a screen. It's one-sided. So my relationship with Close Michelson is sadly parasonic. Your relationship with me is probably parasonic, unless we talk a lot in the comments. So it's one way, obviously, but it's still a friendship in a way. There's also obviously an aspect of escapism. If you're stressing about something stupid, you can just go into a world where they're worried about being murdered, which is such a good distraction because it also makes you realize how small your problems are. Apparently looks is actually a very big aspect of it because, okay, I literally hate the way I talk when I'm like ranting or discussing something. It just triggers me on some other linear plane. So I'm gonna try to act more normal. Dr. Drill Shackleford says that when a character is like attractive or looks good, we're so much more likely to become attached to them. That is probably why Hollywood tends to cast very attractive actors. People like looking at hot people. It makes them more invested in the characters, thus more invested in the show. Thus you watch it more, thus you get more seasons, thus the producers make more money. There's a fun fact. Our brain just makes people who are attractive more significant. Which is actually a fact by Dr. Shackleford. Imagination. Apparently our imaginations are actually a very important aspect of this. Do you know some people don't imagine a world when they're reading a book? That's a sad life. I mean, I don't read, but like, when I do, I imagine a world. Back to the imaginations point, our brain's so good at that. Apparently our brains actually end up thinking. Our brains tend to imagine subconsciously or consciously the effect that things that happen to them in the plot of a show affect their lives. Again, when you think about effects, it humanizes them more, making you more attached to them. I feel like I'm emphasizing that at the end of every paragraph like an essay clincher. So basically we imagine how they feel in the moments. That's why good acting is so important, because when an actor can play a role well, it like gets you emotional, you know, like empathy. And you start imagining how they're feeling, because if they perform well, you get engrossed. Is that a word? I don't know. I use that word all the time. If it's not a word, I'm gonna be so upset. Anyway, you get engrossed in the performance and you just imagine how much it hurts them. And you're so much more likely to feel this when the actors do a good job at portraying their character. And a lot of people think this is what begins the initial attachment. Like, a good actor is the basis of being attached to fictional characters. It makes sense, but you don't really think about that, I feel like. So when you start to imagine how they feel or how things affect their world, it puts you into the headspace of it not being fictional. It emphasizes the idea that it's real in your brain, and whenever you emphasize the idea, you feel like they're real. And yeah, so when you're like just involved so heavily in what's going on, you forget that it's fictional and it just feels so real. It's like watching a friend's life, which is why you care so much about what happens, because you're like, the acting is good, I'm imagining what they're feeling, my empathy is hitting, like I'm feeling empathetic for them, and I'm continuously watching them every day. Like, I just feel like they're a part of my life and I feel like they're real, and all of this happens subconsciously. Like, I'm not looking at Close Michelson like, oh yeah, he's real, he's my friend. No, but that's what happens, that's what your brain thinks subconsciously, because your subconscious is kind of like TV, fake universes, doesn't really think about that, you know? It's like, this is real. This is all happening to me. So all that kind of tends to be why you feel so deeply for the character. So obviously teenagers, this is so much more likely to happen to because we are weak-minded and we are emotional train wrecks. Again, escapism. Teenagers' lives is so stressful with their friends. Friends aren't always stable, especially like high school, middle school. Middle school friend groups suck ass. So why not watch fucking I don't know, Grey's Anatomy and get attached to them. And we often project onto these characters. So projecting onto a character, feeling like they represent you in a way. Teenagers do this a lot, actually. A lot of my friends said this was reasons why they're so attached, because they project onto characters. So when you project onto a character, you kind of project your own traits, emotions, and desires onto a character so you can kind of relate to them more and feel more similar to them. But then it comes to like, yes, they're always there for you, but what the fuck happens if they die? And that's where that's where things get a little bit messy, because that pain, that's what happens. You're attached to somebody, you feel like they're real, and they die. We're just gonna talk about why we get so upset when bad things happen to them. Some of this stuff is my opinion. I think that subconsciously we see a part of ourselves in a character. So if we fear something to happen to us, and it happens to the character that we are emotionally attached to, it hurts a lot. Because we're seeing someone that we care about go through something that we are so terrified of. It kind of brings that fear back into our lives and kind of reminds us how scary that is. So for example, spoilers for the originals, Hope lost both of her parents and her uncle. And I am so afraid of losing people and feeling like I'm left behind. And Hope kind of feels that, like she's left behind. So that concept just hurt me so much, because like that's happening to her, and that's one of my biggest fears. You know how afraid and scared and alone you would feel if both of your parents died, and like for me that's something that I'm afraid of. And then I know what happens to Hope, and you're like, you're probably so scared. You know, like, what about death? My sincere apologies. If you've ever been emotionally attached to a fictional character and they have died, I am genuinely sorry. It has happened to me too many times. The death of a fictional character is so interesting, because it's like, you know they're not real, but it hurts, and it feels like you lost something, because you know, whenever you're rewatching everything, that they're dead. They're gone. And they're not happy, because they're fucking dead, you know? They're not allowed to be happy with their friends or their family, because they're fucking dead. And I still just don't know what to do with that information. Take Tony Stark and Natasha Romanoff. They had been with me since I was 4 years old. They died. I was broken. Like, if you've been watching a show live, you've been watching from the start and till the finale, and you kind of grow with these characters. And then it dies. They, not it. Like, that's so much worse, because it's like, you grew. They were there for you at different points in your life. Now they're just gone. I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what to say about fictional character death. I mean, in a sense, fiction is an escape and a coping mechanism for everything, so when that is kind of taken away and you know that that person isn't happy, it fucking hurts. I guess that's the point of fiction, right? To make you feel something. It's to... When a writer or a producer of anything makes you feel that way, they've done their job correctly. So is the point of Hollywood and the film and the TV industry to cause us pain? I don't know. Well, I'm going to need more vodka if it is, because that's upsetting, personally. I think that another reason is because as humans, we don't want to be forgotten. We essentially kind of fear being forgotten. All of us do subconsciously. But that's kind of what happens to a fictional character when they die, right? They're just kind of forgotten, and they're tucked away in their little book, or their little Netflix, close the tab, and they're just tucked away. They're kind of forgotten once they die, right? And so maybe in a way that scares us? I don't know. I still don't understand. I understand why we get so attached when they die, but like I just don't... Like the concept of a fictional character death and its effect on a person is so just crazy. We're gonna get into some different aspects. Comfort characters are slightly different than just a character that we're emotionally attached to. Like, I am emotionally attached to a lot of characters, but there are a few that genuinely just comfort me. Like, not all of our favorite characters are comfort characters. Like, say for example for me, Klaus Michelson is probably one of my favorite characters to exist, but he's not a comfort character. Hope Michelson is my comfort character. She's my emotional support animal, and I will continue to say that. A comfort character is a character that makes you feel safe and that you're gonna be okay, because maybe they've gone through similar things as you again. And I think comfort characters are such an interesting concept, because like for me, part of the reason Hope Michelson's a comfort character, we both lost, which is painful, and I relate to her in that. This also is such an interesting concept to me, because I've seen so many TikToks that are like, fuck you, my child's completely fine. Your child's comfort character is a mass murderer who's killed thousands of people. So like, what happens if your comfort character is a villain? Like, say Loki, Anakin, or Klaus. Kinda evil characters. Like, how do we find comfort in a character who has massively murdered people? And then everyone's like, your comfort character would love you. They would give you such a big hug. Like, no, they would kill me. I guess I do kind of find comfort in Klaus. Maybe it's because we see parts of them in ourselves, or like, it makes us feel better about ourselves in a way. Think about that. Like, it comforts you because you know that you're not as bad as them. Maybe that's why. The originals, the entire show, and the Vampire Diaries, I have this fear of going to hell. The show kind of made me not as afraid. And maybe that's kind of why I found comfort in some of these characters, because they were so bad. But they made me feel better about myself and the person that I am. So maybe that's why they gave me comfort. After watching the originals, like, my fear of going to hell kind of went away for a while. I was like, there are people who are doing so much worse than me. And then, like, they still found peace, which obviously isn't the same. But still, you know, it's that concept. I think that's actually really interesting. Maybe it just roots in insecurity. I feel like more damaged people find comfort in villains. Maybe it's because the good characters are too good of people for them, or they make them feel bad about themselves for not being, like, a good enough person. But when you use a villain as your comfort character, you infinitely feel better about yourself because you're not a mass murderer. Unless you are. I have to pee. I'll be back. I'm back, fuckers. Where are we? So, crushes. A very big reason that people have crushes on fictional characters. My personal biggest fictional character crush is Peter Parker. I just know that we'd be such a perfect couple. That's all I'm saying. I could 100% pull him. Yeah, people get attached and then want a relationship. They're all attractive. They're all so attractive. And it's so safe because they can't break your heart. Peter Parker will never, Spider-Man will never shatter my heart. Ever. But people are so much more comfortable having fictional character crushes that they could just talk about on Twitter without actually doing anything about it, obviously, because they're not real and you can't. It's so much safer than a real relationship, you know? Another thing I want to talk about is fanfiction and shifting. So if you're really attached to fictional characters and you even get into their world, and if the world building is really good, you find yourself wanting to be inside of that universe. Obviously this is seen with, like, YN fanfiction. I will be embarrassed to say that I do read YN as my name. I don't want to talk about it. So yeah, people read fanfiction about the universe because not only do they care about the characters in it, but sometimes they want to be in it themselves, you know, world building, shit like that, which I don't think is inherently problematic at all. Shifting. I don't know if you guys heard of it, but TikTok, super big there. But they say it's shifting into another universe, but you're not. You're just, like, falling asleep, but you're like, I don't know. I've never done it because I'm not stupid. Apparently, you're just, like, kind of in control of your dream. It's kind of like lucid dreaming, I guess. It's like a daydream, but you're lucid dreaming, but you're asleep, but you're awake. I don't know. Anyway, the shifting topic on TikTok has 700 million views. This is what people say it is. I've never done it. But you basically just, like, are so vividly in another, like, you feel like you're in another reality so vividly. I don't know. It sounds stupid, but if this is, like, a thing that people can actually do, why would you want to live in your real life? If I somehow shifted into the MCU, I would never fucking care about anything in the real world again. I'd be like, who gives a flying fuck? Who? I can just chill, date Peter Parker in the MCU, be friends with Steve and Bucky and Tony. Why would I ever pay attention to anything in real life, you know? If people are doing that, it's like people end up caring too much about this fictional world, and it takes over their life, and you're not trying to improve your own life and do your own thing, right? And it kind of becomes like a drug, where you just, like, look forward to doing that all the time. Daydreaming is, like, similar, but, like, it's not as bad, obviously, because you're not, like, engulfed in it. You're not, like, you don't feel like you're there. I really wonder what it's like, but I'm too scared to try it, because, like, also, what if it's just not real and everyone's just trolling us? I don't know. I think daydreaming is okay, because if you can cope with what's going on in your life by just, like, being in a world with fictional characters, that's fine, because it's not so engulfing as shifting, or whatever the fuck it is. You know, don't ever do that. Don't ever try it, because it's gonna fuck up your life. I hope I scared the shit out of you. Yeah, that's just kind of my, I don't even know, just things about why we're so obsessed, in love, attached, have comfort characters that are all not real, fake from these universes. Comment down below your favorite fictional character. My favorite fictional character right now is probably Klaus Michelson, Hurt Michelson, Rebecca Michelson, Elijah Michelson, Haley Michelson, Peter Parker, Tony Stark, Steve Rogers. I literally couldn't go on for days because I have issues. But the reason I'm saying all this shit right now is because I know literally none of you are watching this part. But comment down below your favourite fictional character or your comfort character or something like that. That's all for today's video. I hope it was something you haven't seen before, because I thought this was an original idea. And if I'm not even gonna see if people have done anything like it, because I want to go with the idea that I'm original, because I thought of it in my little brain when I was having a mental breakdown about Hope Mickelson. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below anything you want, maybe some video suggestions, because I am running low there. You know, I just want to do some chill content, so maybe I'll make like a stupid video watching a stupid video, you know, like Cody Ko style. So I've been watching a lot of Cody Ko, and I've recently become obsessed with him. Peace. I love you all. Hope you're doing great. Everything gets better. Love you.